friends. Welcome to Coding Garden. I'm CJ, and today we are going to be solving Code Wars Code KATAS. If you're not familiar with it, you can go to codewars.com, and these are user-submitted coding problems that you can try and solve. In various programming languages, I usually use JavaScript. Maybe we'll mix it up today, I don't know. And they range in difficulty, so 8Q are the easiest coding problems, and then 1Q are the hardest. Today, we're going to do 3. We're going to do 1.7, 1.6, and 1.5. That's my plan. What's up, Mark Boots? Thank you for that resub. You have overflowed the overlay. That's awesome. Cool. I'm not sure if that's happened in the past before. That's the first time I've noticed it. And Arthlo, thank you very much for that Prime sub. So yeah, that's the plan today. We're going to solve a couple of these. Let's welcome everyone in first. And also, if you're not familiar with the show, this is episode 63. And all of the code I write gets pushed up here to GitHub. Thank you, the She-Boss, for that gift. Much appreciated. And congrats to Oxy. So yeah, all the katas I solve, the solutions get pushed up here. And if you have any suggestions for katas that you want me to solve, you can submit an issue. So this might be the 6Q that we solve today, unless anyone submits a more interesting one. And if anyone has a suggestion for a 7Q that they'd like me to solve, feel free to open up an issue. But let's say hi to everyone, welcome everyone in. Hello. And Jim's account says, that is an awesome beanie. Thank you. It's known as a brimless hat. It's not actually a beanie, but it looks like a beanie. And you can wear it in the summertime. So I like it. You know what? I probably need to add this to my gear page. Because a lot of people ask about my hat. And I got it on Amazon. If you just search Amazon for brimless hat, you'll find it. I think I've got this 4-pack, but this black one is from this 4-pack. Do you mind if I send you an affiliate link if you want to buy it? I'm going to send you an affiliate link. Here I go. Like that? Cool. If you want to support me, click this link. If you don't want to support me, copy the link and remove the tag piece. Cool. Yeah, we just started, Benho. Thanks for dropping in. Cool. Yeah, I will talk about Code Wars from a very beginner's perspective, and actually, we might even just to get us started and warmed up, we'll do an 8Q as well. So you can follow along, because 8Qs are usually fairly easy, fairly simple. So I got you, V Serenity. We'll talk about it from the basics. But first, let's welcome everybody in. Hello, everyone. I'd like to say hello to you. So if you'd like to say hi back, you can say hi, hello, hello, hey, yo, cheers, greetings, hi, what's up, morning, afternoon, evening, howdy, g'day, coding hiyo, vohiyo, or bogahay. Say any one of these things, and I will acknowledge you. I'll say hello right back. Hi, Alka. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being the first person in the chat. Appreciate you. What's up, Winston and Yap and the She-Boss? What's up, Ryan and Blush Denny and 3 Dorito and Houters and Ryan, who says, stoked we get to see much more of you lately on stream. I like streaming. I'm glad to see you all more as well. I like it. And what's up, Selwsh? Good evening. David, how's it going? What's up, Andwas? And Nahij and Crypto Command and Bakamba, who says, hi, Coding Gardib. I know it was a typo, but that's okay. I like it. Gardib. What's up, Voided Abyss and Teddy Codes and Neil Sean and Goofer? What's up, Mark Boots? Yeah. And Al Caesar. Hello. Welcome in, everyone. Erin says it's 1:50 a.m., so I may not hang around for it. That's fine. Thanks for dropping by, anyways. Yeah, I've started to stream more regularly, so that's a good segue for the schedule command. If you take a look at the Google Calendar, I don't know. This should show up in your time zone. If it doesn't, you can convert. But if you go here, you can see all of the times of the upcoming streams, so you can know when to tune in. And Daniel Garden, it's been a long time. Hello, thanks for being here. And David, thank you for the bits. Oh yeah, I forgot. If you give 500 bits or more, or $5 or more donation, your message will be read aloud on stream automatically. I forgot about that. Maybe I should put it in the title, or will that just attract the trolls? I'm gonna put it in the title. And what's up, Randy? And what's up, Voracious Dev? Thanks for being here. We had some other supports. Yeah, Stony Eagle with the 11 months of Tier 3 support. Thank you. Thanks to Mark Boots for the 7 months. Arthlo with the Prime. Welcome in. Thank you. The She-Boss with the gift. And David Snyder with 100 bits. Yeah, I mean, I've seen other streamers do it. I'll leave it on. I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right? It would... Well, there's some pretty bad things can happen. But whoever's going to do those bad things is probably not watching right now. So maybe they'll be nice. I don't know. Let's get right into it. I'm a little tired. I've been working hard today. I guess not. I'm not hard. I've been working today. In that I'm preparing and working on my my course that I mentioned I'm going to be releasing. And though I have a question for chat. Let me show you what I'm working on. And my question for you is, do you know of a way to do the thing that I'm trying to do? Yeah, no worries, Daniel. Glad to see you. I mean, I know that. So, I mean, I streamed only once a week, only on Friday for like a solid year. So there's a lot of people that like weren't able to tune in at all. But I appreciate you for dropping in. Yeah. And V Serenity did ask, does anyone have anxiety? I don't have generalized anxiety. Like, you can be diagnosed with, like, general anxiety disorder and have anxiety all the time. I don't have that. My partner does have that. Though, lately she's been doing pretty well. I don't know, anybody else in chat, do you have anxiety? I mean, I think pretty much everyone has anxiety. It really is a matter of how much that anxiety affects your day-to-day life. But yeah. And David mentioned, brings me back to when Burger King ad bombed the streamers with their TT. Did that happen? I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah, so the course that I'm going to be working on, I'm calling it Full Stack Crash Course. Though I'm also contemplating the title Just Enough Full Stack. And the idea is... it's a course on full stack web development, but it's not meant to be a super in-depth course. It's very high level, and it kind of introduces you to all the high level topics involved with full stack web development, but doesn't like dive deep like a full-on boot camp. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and Voracious is mentioning that they have anxiety often. Recypher, thank you for that, Prime. Binho says they used to have anxiety. Steven is asking, how do you talk to people at tech meetups? It's hard for me to answer this question because like, I'm not very good in social situations. But I guess for those of you that are social... treat it like any other meetup. Like, basically treat it like it's a gathering of friends. It doesn't have to be a tech meetup. And if you listen to the conversations happening at a tech meetup, pretty often they're not related to tech. It's just people talking to other people. And every now and then, like, a tech topic might pop up. So my answer to how to talk to people at tech meetups is you talk to them like you would talk to any other person. Though, I mean, if you're like me and you... like, I'm just not good at small talk. I'm not good in social situations. You could come up with a list of topics that you're ready to talk about. I would say things to avoid are don't just directly ask people like, are you hiring? Or can I have a job? Don't do any of that. Just network, just talk to people. Yeah. Yeah, and Aaron is mentioning that they have anxiety. It affects their sleep. I mean, for a while I had insomnia, um, like just a few months ago, and that some of it was triggered by anxiety, just like worrying about things and not being able to stay asleep. Yeah, yeah. Some of the stack. I'm way behind on chat though. Actually, I'll show you my screen because I think I'm at a point where. Um, Actually, I want to show you this. Just a second. All right, I should be back. I don't know what happened. My Windows computer completely lost network, but my MacBook didn't. It might be an issue with my network card, honestly. Honestly. All right. I am gonna read your chat messages though. So I'm 3 minutes behind on chat. I'll read that one. What's up, CM Griffin? Thank you for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. Just in time. My stream literally just went down. Yeah, shout out to CM Griffin. We raid them all the time. They're awesome. Definitely click that link and drop a follow. But welcome in, Raiders. We're doing Code KATAS tonight. And 26 months. Thank you so much for that streak. Yeah, we're back. The stream went down, but we're back. Yeah, so the plan today is to solve some Code Wars Code Katas. We're going to try to do at least 3 of varying difficulty. Right now, I'm catching up on chat. I'm about 4 minutes behind on chat. And then I have a question for everyone watching, because I'm looking for a tool of a certain type, but I'll get to that after I catch up on chat. And who was it that initially? Yeah, V Serenity asked, "Does anyone have anxiety?" And so we're talking a little bit about anxiety and stuff like that. So David is mentioning, I've been unofficially diagnosed with social anxiety and general anxiety by my therapist. Yeah, I mean, I unofficially diagnosed myself with social anxiety, so I've never actually been to a therapist or anything like that. But these days it's more social awkwardness. Like, I've gotten over the anxiety of it. I've basically accepted the fact that I am awkward in social situations. But it used to be that my own awkwardness would feed into the anxiety of being in a social situation. I think I've talked about this on stream before, but you know how, like, let's say you're in some kind of social situation, whether it's a work meeting with new people, or you're meeting new friends at some friend's house, or you're at some event, and everyone is going around in a circle introducing themselves. It used to be that, like, as it was getting closer and closer to me where I would have to introduce myself, the anxiety would just build, and I would just get so anxious. All I had to do was say my name and, like, what my title was, if it's a work related thing, or like what my hobbies are if it's more social. But even that would cause me anxiety. I've gotten over that now. I think the way I got over it was just being exposed to it a lot, doing it so much that I just realized that it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I'm gonna do my best. No one else cares as much about me saying my name right. But yeah, I don't know. V Serenity is saying, my boyfriend doesn't really have anxiety, and it's crazy to me because I want to relax sometimes, but it's like, yeah, it's just like an overactive mind. You worry, and then you worry, and then you worry, and you worry about worrying, but yeah. Oh yeah, and on an unrelated topic, the course I'm working on will be a Udemy course. And Anfwas, thank you for the 100 bits. Actually, can you tell me how to say your name, Anfwas? Because I don't know. Who said, and thank you for the bits, who says, thanks for being transparent and sharing your experience. Social anxiety is real and sucks. Yeah. Andy. I'll call you Andy. That's easy. Right. That's a really good meta thing. Ryan is saying, I have anxiety about answering yes to this question about anxiety. Yeah. And what's up, Vias? Welcome in. And Recipher, who says, I suffer from severe anxiety and panic attacks. I've been able to manage and cope as of recent, though. It can be scary. Yeah, I've never had a panic attack, but there are people close to me that have, and the way they describe it is like you basically feel like you're dying. You feel like it's a heart attack, or you feel like your body has just stopped working, your brain has stopped working, or you're completely overwhelmed. But at the end of it all, it's mostly in your head. But I mean, everything's in your head. Like everything is your experience of reality. So this panic attacks are really just, I guess there's more chemicals happening in your brain, and your subjective experience is hindered, for sure. Voracious Dev, thank you for that Prime. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a meme to say that like all developers are awkward or have social anxiety. It's really not the case. I mean, I've known a lot of very social and like very not awkward developer types. There's probably more than not, but it is a bit of a stereotype. Yeah, and someone else asked about like at tech meetups, how do you talk to people? I just mentioned talk to them like they're humans. Like you actually don't have to talk about tech. You don't have to ask if they're hiring or if they have a job. You just talk, and like those conversations will turn into like semi friendship, maybe like casual friendships, which might turn into that person might work at a company that's hiring, and then you can start talking about more tech stuff. But for the most part, at meetups, just talk. People at tech meetups will be just as awkward, so you might find it's easier. It's true, because everyone else is anxious and like wanting to talk. So yeah, I think it's really just about like breaking the ice. So you could come prepared with like a list of topics. Honestly, like I would not be weirded out if somebody walked up to me and had like a notepad and was like, and then just like asked me a question. I would engage. I'd be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's talk. Let's talk about something. And Ryan says, I'm a socially awkward butterfly. My brain works fast, so it adds the awkward element, but I love socializing and meeting new people. Yeah. Oh, wow, that's a lot of seedlings, the Shibas. I mean, I have infinity seedlings, but that's a lot. It would be interesting to see one day who has the most seedlings. Yeah. Aaron's saying, I've been prescribed some stuff for my insomnia, but it's not working. What worked for me is, I mean, and like this is my personal experience. I quit nicotine, so I was actually addicted to vaping. I never smoked cigarettes, but I started vaping, and my nicotine addiction really made it hard to stay asleep because my body would just like wake up after a couple of hours wanting more nicotine. So I quit cold turkey, and quitting definitely helped. It might also be a psychological thing if I just like told myself that, okay, I've quit this, so I don't need it anymore. I also just spent like a week of trying to eat really well and like having a routine. So like waking up at a specific time and then having like a nighttime routine where like 30 minutes to an hour before bed, I would drink some calming tea, like some chamomile or something like that. And then I also would try to limit my exposure to screens like an hour before bed. So no phones, no TV, just like read a book. And that worked for me. But now, this is like 2 months later, I'm able to actually like use my phone before bed and I can get to sleep. Though every now and then it is nice to follow that routine of like drinking some tea, reading a book. Yeah. And yeah, and I've tried melatonin, but It works sometimes. A lot of times for me, it'll let me stay asleep for like 2 or 3 hours, and then I wake up and I'm wide awake. I don't like that. But yeah, I mentioned it. I do know React. We've done some React stuff. Yeah. All right, I'm back. So we're caught up to the messages where my stream went down. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. We're back. And David is saying, fortunately, my anxiety hasn't caused insomnia in the past 4 years. Yeah. And Denif! Welcome in. Thank you for that Prime. Yeah, so I'm trying to remember what I watched on sleep. It might have been a YouTube video, or was it like a Netflix documentary? I recently watched something about sleep. Oh, wait. No, it was a podcast. I want to look this up. It's the Ologies Podcast. I listened to it while I was on a road trip. Yeah, Ologies with Ali Ward. So, she does a podcast where every episode she talks to a professional in some kind of ology. And somnology is the one that I listened to, which was about sleep. Yeah, this one. Part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is like this professional Chris Winter talking about sleep stuff, and then part 2 is just a bunch of Q&A. But one of the interesting things he talked about for insomnia is it's not trouble getting to sleep, it's trouble staying asleep. Because he talks about some of the sleep studies he did where they would examine people that said they had trouble sleeping because of insomnia or various other sleep disorders. And when they put them into a sleep study, they actually did sleep. But it's their perception of how they slept, and it's actually how much restful sleep they didn't get that made them feel like they didn't sleep. So a lot of it is just your perception of your sleep, which has a lot to do with the anxiety that's feeding into it. But that's an interesting episode if you're interested in sleep science. That's funny, the Shibas. Do you have the same same icon, or is it a different icon? Is yours the hammock, or do you have the person meditating? Yeah, and the Shibas is mentioning, if you have a smartwatch, the sleep mode gives a lot of info. Yeah, I only tried one smartwatch, and it didn't do the best at sleep tracking. He actually talked about it in that Ologies episode about, like, not all sleep trackers are created equally, but if you find a good one, like, it's good enough because it, like, at least gives you some insight. But yeah. Cool. And welcome in, Raiders. Sorry if I'm boring you with all this talk that's not code, but I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And Alka says, you were fine when we were hanging out. I'm not super social, but I'm all right if I know people. Yeah, I mean, and it's also, like, my perception of it. I mean, and the thing is, like, I've gotten used to it. And I am a very quiet person. Like, I don't talk that much unless I'm really, really interested in a subject. Or I know, interested, but also if I know a lot about a subject. If I know a lot about a subject, I can talk a lot. But if I don't know anything, I don't like to talk that much. And so hanging out with you, Alka, I think, like, we have a lot of common interests because we're interested in Twitch and technology and stuff like that. So I was able to be social around you. Yeah. Yeah, it takes time, V-Serenity. Obviously, like, multiple sessions are going to help. It won't just happen in 1 hour or one session, you know. And what's up, Stasly? Welcome in. And Recypher is saying, I used to work in Tier 2 support in a call center, and that caused me to develop severe anxiety and panic attacks from dealing with the customers. It's gotten a lot better. That's crazy. Like, it's crazy to think that, like, our jobs can induce disorders like that. I don't know if disorder is the right word, like, but anxiety and panic attacks, because that falls over into our personal life, right? So it's the thing we're doing all day long for a job, but then now in your personal life, you have to suffer from anxiety and panic attacks that were triggered by your work. It's crazy to think about, which actually reminds me of Severance, which is a show I was going to say I've been watching. I finished season 1. There's only one season. It's on Apple TV, but the concept is there are workers that they get a surgery done where when they go to work, it's a completely different self that doesn't remember anything about their outside self. And then when they leave work, they don't remember going to work. It's a very interesting show. Yeah, and it feels like a different role for Adam Scott. Because like, I mean, I know him from like Parks and Rec. I guess that's the main thing I know him from. But he seemed to be a bit more like confident, or more. I guess I don't know. He's a different character in this. It's always interesting to like watch shows with actors you know, and you expect them to be one way, but they're not because they're actors and they're acting a different thing. But yeah, it's a good show. Cool. Well, see, that's the other thing, Stephen, is like, so locally in Denver, I worked in a coding boot camp. I taught students. So there are hundreds of people in the Denver area that all know who I am because I taught them, or they went to the same school, or they know someone that I taught. So that instantly makes it easier because everybody already knows who I am. It's harder when it's people I don't know, but yeah. And so I think this is in reference to talking about like when it was my turn to introduce myself. That's how the She-Boss feels at demo. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing that I got better at, is like I got better at presenting. I got better at talking about my work, because even that would cause anxiety, or I would not be my full self when trying to give it. Yeah, I taught at a school called Galvanize. It's changed a lot since I was there. Galvanize. The entire coding school portion of this is now actually run by Hack Reactor, and it's completely different than what I did while I was there. G77? Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think anytime you saw me, I would have been surrounded by people I know. So yeah. And Andy, thank you for the 100 bits again. And what's up, Ucha? Thanks for being here. Aaron says, I transitioned to a new job, and my manager was like, we've got a new member of the team. Said my name, role, etc., and everyone clapped, and it was so awkward. That's usually how it goes. Yeah. And what's up, Zolo? Yeah, I mean, this is in reference to, I think, just anxiety in general. Like, it is irrational, but panic attacks are, yeah, I guess I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but that doesn't mean they're not happening, right? That doesn't mean that you're not feeling that way, because you are feeling that way. But there's also, like, the cognitive dissonance of, like, I don't want to be feeling this way, and I shouldn't be feeling this way, but I'm feeling this way anyways. So... and that can trigger your anxiety even more. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, alcohol helps. I don't drink that much. And I feel like it would take too much alcohol for me to be social. And at that point, I'm just too drunk. I don't know. Oh, okay, yeah. So Steven is saying, but how do you start a conversation? I think you just walk up to people. I think, so this specific question, we're talking about being at like a tech meetup. People that go to a tech meetup are expecting that people will be trying to network and people will be trying to talk. I think there might be some people, there will be some people that go just for the talk or the topic, and they don't care about the social aspect. But I would say the majority of people that are there to socialize. So if you just walk up to someone and introduce yourself, that is not taboo. That is basically like what the venue is for. So in terms of like how do you start the conversation, just walk up to someone and introduce yourself. And usually if people understand what's happening, they'll introduce themselves, they'll introduce anyone else that's standing around, and then they might even try to engage you and get you into the conversation that they were having, or you could just start something. Just ask a question of like, where do you work? Or what tech stack do you use at your job? Something like that. Yeah, you'd be surprised. Like, I'm a very, very quiet person. So here in Denver, for a while, they had this conference called Develop Denver. It's no longer a thing. This is not it. Somebody bought this domain. Somebody bought this domain. That's not it. Oh no! Do I know any of these people? Some of these people look familiar. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the web archive. I guess it's not that relevant, but regardless. So Develop Denver is a conference that was held fairly annually in Denver, Colorado. And it's like just like a local, mostly locals only developer conference where pretty much every speaker was from the Denver area. And the one that I went to, they had Develop Denver Unplugged, like the week or the day before it, where we went on a camping trip. And I went on that camping trip, and most of the people on the camping trip were like the organizing committee. So it's all of the, like, I guess like the well-known people and the big shots in the community that were at this camping trip. But I literally said like 2 words the entire two days of camping. Like I barely spoke at all. And then I was giving a talk at the actual conference. And when I gave the talk, there were hundreds of people in the audience. I delivered it very well, and people were really engaged. And so all of the people that went camping were like, who is this guy? Like, this is not the person we met that said like 2 words. So my presenter self is way different than like myself in social situations. And it's especially because like it was my talk that I'd prepared, and it's something that I was passionate and interested in, so I was able to talk about it for my talk. Whereas while camping, it was hard for me to get into any of the conversations or things like that. So you're saying you're a GigaChad presenter. I'm a pretty good presenter. I mean, you can judge for yourself. I'll send you the talk that I gave. Develop Denver overview. I gave a talk on Vue.js. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, if you're here for an overview of... Cool. All right. I'm going to try my best to catch up on chat so that I can ask you a question and then we can actually write some code. Excuse me. This was a year or 2 before the Jeopardy game. And Mark Boots, thank you for the 100 bits. And the Jeopardy game I created. I made it. Okay. Tactical Spartix is saying, an electrothermal. Thank you for the resub. 5 months. That's awesome. Okay. I've had one minor panic attack. Luckily, my wife was there for me. I've always been an anxious person, and becoming a dad has only made it tougher to know everyone and everything is okay. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a good point from Steam Griffin. Like, at these tech meetups and stuff like that, you just avoid politics, avoid religion, avoid anything that could be a very heated and, what's the word? Like heavy topics or jarring topics. That's not like casual conversation. Yeah. Alka has 167,000 points. Yeah, it's hard when you want to be social, but you have social anxiety. It's true. It's true. Yeah, and thanks again, Danny, for the Prime. Yeah, this app here was built with Electron. Arian is saying, I started vaping in the past 7 months as well, mostly due to stress and anxiety. Badly addicted, so I need to cut down at minimum and eventually stop. I'm telling you, if you can quit, that will help with your insomnia. I mean, at least from my experience, and I didn't even realize it until I quit. My body was not allowing me to sleep because it wanted nicotine. Like, it wanted me to vape. So, quit vaping. Or do it way less. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, also, I quit nicotine and caffeine at the same time. It was a lot to do, but I did it, and then now I'm not dependent on caffeine anymore. I only have a little bit of caffeine every day. Instead of, I got to a point where I could drink a Red Bull and not even feel it. Like, I would just drink a Red Bull so that I wouldn't be tired and groggy. But now I drink a Red Bull, and I'm ready to go. Ready to go. Yeah. Yeah. And Really Hyper Rocket is saying, finally got back into programming. Good to watch your streams again. Actually launched a very bare starter website the other day. Nice. Is that like your portfolio website or something like that? Yeah. This video helped me improve my sleep routine, not for specifically for insomnia, but for general constant tiredness. Let's check it out. Why you're always tired. Cool. So, Apple Watch for sleep tracking, Nest Hub, Galaxy Watch 4. So, I got a watch called the, I guess I'll talk about this. This is interesting. It's from a brand called Amazfit. And so what's cool about it is the watch itself has GPS in it, so it can do GPS tracking without being paired to a phone. And then also the battery lasts for 30 days. However, I didn't want to use Amazfit's app because they're based in China, and like all of your health data and everything like that is going to Chinese servers. So there's an open source project called Gadget Bridge. And it's an app for Android that is able to get the data from the devices like Amazfit, and they support a lot of other brands, without connecting to the network at all. So the Android app does not have network privileges. So even if it wanted to send data off somewhere, it couldn't, because the app literally doesn't have network privileges. It only has Bluetooth privileges so that it can connect it to the device. I think the thing is, like, with a lot of devices, you kind of run into that scenario, though, where your data is on some company's servers. And to me, it's very personal data, because it's like sleep data and it's health stuff. I don't know. I don't really want that on some company servers. Yeah. So it's called Gadget Bridge, and you can get it on F-Droid, which is the free and open source Android app repository. So F-Droid is an app you can get to install apps without needing the Google Play Store. Yeah, and they list all of the devices that they support. I have the Amazfit BIP S, I think, is the one that I have. I mainly got it for step tracking. Yeah. Acid Spark says, smartwatches are great for dying when I smack them against a wall by cutting a corner too close. Yeah, I got like a little silicone bumper because I kept hitting my watch against the wall. But yeah. So there's a sleep cycle app. Okay. Yeah, and then we were talking about Severance. My family keeps saying I should work in tech support. Absolutely not happening. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, So yeah, we're talking about severance now. We're switching topics like crazy, but we earlier I mentioned this show Severance. I don't know if Apple would do something like that. If they're the kind of company that would do that. I don't know. I feel like Google would, but maybe not Apple. I don't know, but I get all of that. I guess just has to do with like marketing and brand perception. I don't know. Yeah. It's true that I'm still 12 minutes behind on chat. Oh, and Andy was G64. What's up, dude? Hey. And Jay-Z Chaos. Hello. Yeah. I mean, I think like everything in moderation, including moderation. for everything. Yeah. Oh yeah, and so earlier we were talking about Develop Denver. The pandemic happened to it, so I think we went 2 years without a conference because of the pandemic, and then there was actually an LLC behind the conference itself that couldn't stay afloat without any income. So, yeah, it's true. Thank you for the bits, David. No, we'll catch up. Okay, how about this? No new messages past this. So once I reach this message, I'm going to skip any newer message. But after that, I'll read your messages. So actually here, we're going to do a 60-second slow mode. Just for now. And what's up, Stony Eagle? Thanks for being here. And Transiner, what's up? Test. Hi. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting dilemma for a lot of new programmers. Is like the meetup scene, especially in Denver, has died down a lot since the pandemic, and before the pandemic, like that's how we networked. That's how we got new jobs and stuff like that. And so it's really interesting to be in a world where less of that is happening, where most meetups are remote, so it's harder to socialize and network. But yeah. Thanks again for the bits, Mark. And Electrothermal, thanks for the resub. Main, hello. Yeah. It's true. Oh, thanks, Yap. I'll take a look at it. Yeah, and so I think this comment is in reference to like what things to talk about at a tech meetup. Divisive topics. Don't avoid them. Don't talk about them. Avoid them. Or controversial topics. Exactly. Anything that could be really, really one-sided in either direction. Though it can be fun to bring up controversial programming topics. Like just walk up to somebody and say tabs or spaces. That could be an interesting icebreaker. Yeah. Oh, this hat has been reminding you of Leon, Gene Reno. I don't know the reference. Oh, this? Leon the Professional. So I could see it. This is more of like a knit cap, though, like a wool cap. This is very summer friendly because I think it's cotton. But yeah, I could see it. Hello, Spain. Welcome in. What did you do when you craved it? So are we talking about nicotine? I would just vape. And now I catch myself. So I basically quit cold turkey, and I actually went on a retreat in the mountains for a week. So there was an entire week where it was basically like a reset, and I had withdrawals and everything. But when I got back home, I had not vaped for long enough that I was able to not give in to any cravings and stuff like that. So, I mean, I still crave it. Like, after I finish a meal, I think to myself, I would be vaping right now, or I'd like to vape. Or a lot of times when I walk through a threshold, like walk through a door or walk outside, I think to myself, I would be vaping right now, because I used to just do it all the time, and like those were my triggers. But now I think about it, but I don't do it. Andy is saying pets are amazing stress relievers. I can't accommodate a dog or a cat, but having 2 ferrets is amazing. Yeah. I expected a Rickroll too, but that was a legitimate YouTube link that we clicked on earlier. My vape was packed away and just forgot about it in the move. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I can sleep without white noise, but it's way easier for me to sleep with a fan on. Um, it and so there's not a lot of road noise near my house, but every now and then at night there'll be like a loud car or something like that. And if I don't have some white noise going, it'll wake me up. So yeah, I kind of need white noise to sleep. Yeah. Yeah, so for anyone else out there having like anxiety or insomnia, I recommend the caffeine detox as well. Because like I mentioned earlier, what did I mention? Oh yeah, I got to a point where caffeine did nothing for me except make sure that I didn't get a headache or made me not groggy. Whereas now, like, caffeine really gets me going. I can actually tell when I consume caffeine. And what's up, Main Thigh? Welcome in. 30 days? What are we talking about 30 days? Oh, you ask Alexa to play Blizzard's sounds. Nice. My watch. Yeah. So that's the other cool thing. The battery life on it is literally a month. Um, and I mean, because it's not your standard like Apple Watch style smartwatch. Like it doesn't stay on all the time. Like it doesn't have a microphone. Doesn't have a camera. It's very minimal, but it can still do like step tracking, and it can tell you what the weather is by syncing with your phone. That kind of thing. Yeah. Does vaping have a social aspect like cigarettes? It does. I never really used it for social situations. I've never really talked about the fact that I vape on stream before. So, and you may not have known it. It might be hard to believe because if you look back over the past 3-4 years of streams, sometimes I would stream for like 6-12 hours, and I've never really vaped on stream. I'll vape during breaks, but not anymore. I don't know. And Electrothermal says, I really should stop caffeine. Then days like today, waking up at 4 to catch a flight for a meeting, then 8 hours of work, then the social hour after work you should attend. Without caffeine, there's no way to make it. It's true. Like, it just life. There's a whole lot of life. Yeah. David is saying, my caffeine dependence is based on how much sleep I had the previous night. Yeah, if I get enough sleep, I can get through the day with 0 caffeine. But if I don't, I need energy drinks to get through the day. Yeah, but I got to a point where I would basically have caffeine withdrawals. Like I would get a headache at like 10 or 11 a.m. if I didn't have some caffeine. Like I could get enough sleep and then I'd wake up rested, but I was basically just taking caffeine so that I wouldn't get a headache. Which app? Remind me, Rollers. This was 10 minutes ago. Oh, this one. I linked it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. In Gadget Bridge, yeah, because it's an Android app. It's written in Java. Though, I guess these days they could be using... what's that new Android language? Java. Kotlin. That's the one. That's an Amazon Elon Musk move to become a severance company. Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting concept. So we're talking again about that movie Severance, because it's like, yeah, like if you didn't have to carry the baggage of work into your personal life, that's a good plus. And if you didn't have to carry the baggage of your personal life into work, that's a good plus. But it's really only a good plus for the company itself, because the company is basically just getting more productivity and more work out of the employee. It's not as beneficial to the employee themselves. I don't know. And thanks again, David, for the bits. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of privacy issues with a lot of apps. So, yeah, it's pretty cool that you're working on your own stuff. Okay, we made it. We made it, but we're still 8 minutes behind on chat. All right, I'm going to scroll fast, and maybe I'll read chats just like this one. Who sent Mug Test says, can I ask why do people care if companies have our health info? Like, what's the worst that can happen? For example, Google tracking in Chrome. it's not, I don't think about it like, what's the worst that can happen? I don't think about it like, if you have this data, you can do something with it. To me, it just feels like a violation of my personal identity to have such personal information on some company's server. And the things that I think about are like all of the employees of that company are humans. They make mistakes, and also some of them are bad humans. So I can't necessarily trust that the company has safeguards in place to prevent its own employees from accessing that data when they shouldn't be accessing it. And so like that kind of health information could be used by, let's say, an insurance company to not provide somebody insurance because they have their more detailed health information. Now, obviously, like, there are laws in place that prevent those kinds of things from happening, but data's having that data in the first place would make it possible for something like that to happen. So I'm not super worried about, like, yeah, like what are the, I don't know the best way to word it. The other thing is, like, I'm highly against online advertising, and the way the web works these days is basically advertising. Everything works through advertising. Like, a lot of Twitch, the only way it can really work is because a lot of people watch ads, and that personal health data could be used to more specifically target ads. And there have been some recent stories about data researchers using, and actually John Oliver did a really good one, a really good episode on how he was able to target ads very specifically in Washington, D.C., and then target people between a certain age group in Washington, D.C., and then with his own servers that are tracking the ad clicks, able to uniquely identify who actually clicked on those ads. So that itself is scary, and I don't want things like that happening. What did he do? Targeted ads? Targeted ads. Data brokers. This is the episode. It's a really interesting watch, and basically what he showed is there are ways to specifically target advertisements so fine-grained and so targeted that it basically de-anonymizes the data used to target those users. And so things like health data could be used for that. So that's why I care. It's a really long answer, but that's why I care. And what's up, Maintai? I'm just catching up on chat, and then we're going to start writing some code. Yeah. Yeah, so I vaped for a long time, but I recently quit. Yeah. Well, thank you, Stasley. Appreciate you. Caffeine actually makes you get more dopamine from stuff you're doing, so it also makes you feel happier from stuff you do during work. I could believe it, but also too much caffeine is too much. I think we mentioned it earlier, but everything in moderation. David says, I vaped in high school, and it 100% was for social reasons. That's why it was easy for me to quit, yeah. And Duder, what's up? What's up? What's up? All right, we're catching up on chat. We're here. Oh, no worries, Loco. Thanks for dropping in, though. I haven't seen the movie The Professional, so I don't know. My issue would be that I think they could use it against me. Yeah, so in talking about your health data, not that they actually are, but they could. And so I talked about, like, you can't really even trust the employees of the company, but not only that, like, you can't necessarily trust their security measures so that hackers, you can't trust that they're going to prevent all hackers from getting access to their data, and then hackers could use that data as well. So, yeah. Sorry, Stasley. Sorry to wake you up, but thanks for dropping in. Yeah. Yeah, I'll read this message because it's true. Like, okay, so the worst that could happen is out of this world insane. There's no way you believe it. But speaking in terms of likely harm, it's still not great. China and their social credit score is a crazy thing. So yeah, I don't know too much about that, but it's basically almost like a credit score, but it's more so used for like, are you a well-behaved citizen? If they were ever more powerful than they are now, it could seriously affect you. Or maybe you could get a job offer in China, but lose the job because of your SES. It's insane. Yeah, so like basically your health data could be used to profile you and prevent you from getting a job somewhere or being able to go to a specific business or something like that. So yeah, that's why I worry. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a stretch to say it's the same thing as why should we store our money in banks because they can be robbed. I think if you look at the banking industry, there's an incredible amount of laws and rules and safeguards put in place that it's just not the same in other industries. So, of course, like if you look at banks that way, then it would follow. But I don't think you can look at banks that way because there's so many rules and laws and legislation around it. Whereas anyone can start a smartwatch company and collect people's personal data. And there's not as many laws stopping people from using that data maliciously. So, yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing about advertising and metadata. So there was a story of how Target or Walmart knew a girl was pregnant before her parents based on her searches and purchases. Yeah. Yeah, I never watched The Social Dilemma because, like, I heard the synopsis and I was like, yeah, I already know that. But maybe it'd be good to watch. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's always a way to use it. Absolutely, which is why, like, I don't really want anything in my life tracked or on company servers. And I'm making efforts to stop that. But it's not easy. So things like Gmail, everyone uses Gmail. I would like to not use Gmail. Yeah, just stuff like that. Voracious Dev is saying, I know some people that work for data aggregation companies. It's pretty crazy what they know about you and what can predict about you. Yeah. And what's up, Finder of the Ice Wing? Welcome in. Thanks for that link, David. If anyone's interested in that Target story, click on it. Yeah. Yep, we're just chatting. We're about to start writing some code, though. And Loco is saying, CJ, I really have to thank you. I learned a lot from you to a point that most of the time when it comes to JavaScript, I can't learn too much from you anymore, which is a good thing. So big thanks, much, and love I send you. Thank you, Loco. I thought about this recently, like especially because I went full-time content creator recently, and I started like close to 5 years ago. So there are people that watched me 4.5, 5 years ago as complete beginners that now have full careers and might even be like mid-level or senior devs. And all of this beginner stuff that I talk about all the time is completely irrelevant to them now. But I would hope that my I want to produce more content that can actually grow with my viewers. Yeah, and like the She-Boss, like they work professionally and write Java on a daily basis, but they started watching me when they were in college and learning to code. So yeah, I'm going to do my best to keep my content relevant for the people that would have likely outgrew my content. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm almost caught up though. I agree that there should be stricter prosecution for data breaches. Yeah. And I mean, they're trying. That's all that like legislation around like, well, not legislation, but stuff happened with Cambridge Analytica and Facebook and stuff like that. But yeah. Yeah. True. And Slowly Raking. Thank you for the Prime. Yeah. So what do you use instead of Gmail? I would potentially self-host. But even that gets tricky because I might be renting a server from Amazon or AWS. But I'm researching what I would do instead of Gmail. Yeah. Nice. That's the same for me, but without the career. Hey, fine with the ice cream. Does that mean you tried but couldn't get the career, or you weren't pursuing a career? And Ken Pafu is saying, I started watching you last year while thinking about joining a boot camp, and now I'm 3 months into my first software engineering job. Nice. Glad to hear it. And David is saying, I was a noob when I started watching you in 2020, and now I'm a mid-level dev. Nice. Nice. Loco is saying, I'm a CS student, but when it comes to practical JS stuff, you're my number one teacher. Recently made an Amazon price tracker for cloud technology module. Don't know the grade yet, though. I'm sure you did fine. Andy says, I watched you back in the day. Congrats on making a leap to pure content creator. Thank you. Oh, not pursuing. That's good to hear. And no worries, S-Fox. But thanks for dropping in. It's been a while since I've seen your name in the chat. Check out the calendar if you haven't. Maybe one of those upcoming streams is in your time zone. If you click that calendar link, you can see the streams for this week and next. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the main issue, like with self-hosting. You can't just spin up a server, install some email software, and expect everything to work great. There's a lot you have to worry about, which is why I'm researching it. Yeah. Cool. Best way to check div's collision. I'll leave you with this. Bounding client rectangle. Use this function. That's what I'll tell you. All right, we're caught up on chat. That's awesome. Now, I have a question for you all. Hopefully you can help me answer it. I am looking for some sort of presentation software that lets me do this. So actually, I got this working in Figma. So if you're not familiar with Figma, it's like a design tool. But I basically started creating like this diagram infographic thing. And I found this plugin called Flyover that essentially lets me look at individual pieces on this diagram at a time and like animates between them. Does Canva do that? Yeah, so I've seen Prezi, but like Prezi, I guess I'll try Prezi, but Prezi looked expensive. It was like at least $20 a month or something like that. But let me show you what I got working in Figma. So basically I created this diagram, and then this Flyover plugin now lets me zoom in. So this diagram is all about how the internet works. So it starts at home, and you're on your device, and you're actually on a local area network, and that's because of the router and the modem. And then that router or modem connects to a cable, which connects to an ISP. Either it's on a tower or buried underground, but somehow it gets it to an internet service provider, and that internet service provider is providing internet to other people as well. And then that internet service provider is using switches and routers to connect to other internet service providers, which make up the internet backbone. And ultimately, there are companies and server farms that are connected to that internet backbone that have lots of servers, which are just high-powered computers. So basically, like I'm making this diagram, and then this lets me navigate through it little by little. And I can. So the interesting thing is I can zoom in on like any section, and then add that as a stop. So like this over here. I could add the current view as a stop. And then now it'll navigate between them. So we go from here, and then it navigates over to the new stop. So, I mean, I think this is going to work for me unless there's something that is easier and better. I would say the one issue with this is I can't animate things on and off the screen, right? Like, it would be cool if over here on when we're talking about my home, if I could like toggle these Wi-Fi signals on and off, but you can't really do that on Figma because it's just whatever is on the board. Yeah, Streamlabs seems to not like donate. Are you trying to donate right now? Is it going through but not showing up, or is it just not going through? Well, that's unfortunate. Can you put a GIF on it? Yeah. So you can put any. That's the other cool thing about this. You can, because it's basically just an infinite canvas with images, text, and all sorts. And yeah. So people do recommend Prezi. I had some students that used it a while back. I was just turned away at the price. I guess $5 a month is not bad. And I guess that would let me animate things on and off that are already on the canvas. And I don't think I've ever used Canva. The Sheboss, would you say that Canva would let me create sort of like an infinite canvas to like animate between? Yeah. But so this is me working on my course. It's just basically like I want to be able to do this, but I don't want to like edit in After Effects or something like that. I want to be able to set it up and then like use it as a presentation tool that I can switch to while I have some slides up or something like that. Like I'm looking for the most seamless way to present this kind of information without editing in post. Yeah. Slide dev? I'll take a look at that. I'll actually show you all some pretty interesting stuff I figured out with Reveal.js that I didn't know you could do. So Reveal.js is the presentation framework that is behind RevealMD, which I use. But I did not realize that it lets you animate between code fragments. So, for instance, you can have some code and then like individually highlight certain lines and then like animate between them. I'll show my example slide deck for that. And SFox is saying, I have something you might have advice on. We're making an ETL pipeline, and we're experiencing an issue in the parsing of a file where the string is too long. What could be a possible solution for this? What is ETL? Extract, transform, load. Is that how you mean it as the acronym for like data processing? And I guess the solution would depend like what language is it in? Okay, it's from one data source to another. Okay. What programming language are you using, or what environment is it in? Yeah. Pleased to see that there's an SVG Nintendo Switch on the network. Yeah, so I wanted to do like, where'd it go? Like game consoles and stuff like that. So. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's remove slow mode. Sorry about that. Thank you for the note. Wait on 10 seconds. Prezi is not really the same thing. I mean, I know Prezi will animate in and out of things. Like, I also looked at Impress.js, which is like the JavaScript version of that, because it lets you do things like this and this and this. The only thing I didn't like about it is it's all done with code. There is no visual editor. You would have to write code to make your entire presentation, which isn't horrible because I'm already like using Markdown for my presentations, but I wanted some sort of what you see is what you get editor. Oh, no worries, the Sheboss. I think I'll definitely check it out because I've heard of people using Canva. I've just never used it myself. So Varj is saying, a quick way to turn them on and off would be to just cover the symbols with a square of the same background color to hide them and toggle that on and off. I guess I would need to figure out how to toggle things on and off without, because I could draw a square, like put that there, but how do I toggle its visibility? Is there a keyboard shortcut? I don't know. do it yourself. Make a canvas, build it with div boxes, and add key events. Yeah, I mean, at this point, that's what I might have to do, but I think, like, I'm really glad I found that flyover thing today on Figma, because that's kind of as close as I want to get to it. TypeScript in Node, it's running on AWS Lambda, and the string is too long. Huh. So yeah, I haven't seen slide dev. Presentation slides for developers. Yeah. There was a show hide hotkey?
Cheer 1000 good enough. Question, what range of katas are you going to do tonight? And yes, Streamlabs is having a meltdown with donations.
Thank you very much, Finder the Ice Wing, for the 1,000 bits. So we're gonna, we've been live for over an hour and I haven't written any code yet. I'm sorry, everyone. It's fun to talk to you all, though. I hope you enjoy that, at least. We're gonna do a range, so we'll start really easy. Earlier there were some beginners in the chat. I don't know if they're still beginners, but we're gonna start with the super easy one and then go up one at a time from there. And at this point, we might not even do a 5Q, just because I've been live for an hour already. It's gonna take me over an hour to do all of these, so yeah. And thank you very much. I appreciate the bits. Yeah, I shaved. I know it's jarring, but my mustache is slowly coming back. And thank you, Andy. I'm remembering the point of the stream. Yeah, I mean, we're at that point. But I thank you all for the suggestions. I'll definitely check these out later. Like slide dev. I'm curious what I can do, like animations. And then I'll check out Canva. I might end up using Prezi. I don't know. But Command-Shift-H is the toggle. Yeah, I guess the only issue with Command-Shift-H is, like, when I'm in presentation mode, I would have to, like, click the things that I want to show or hide, which is a little cumbersome. Because Figma also has presentation mode, but it works on what it calls frames. So you can, like, select a bunch of things, right-click it, and then say frame selection. So now that's frame 1. And then I could select this, and then that's frame 2. But now when I go to present, it doesn't animate between them. It just shows me, and I have to do fit to screen. I also have to add a background color, but instead of animating, it just shows each section, and I like the animating between them. So cool. I'll definitely check out those things. Tilkine is saying, I like using Pandoc to compile Markdown into Reveal. Well, I'm using Reveal MD, which does that automatically. This thing. So I write my slides with Markdown, and then it instantly turns that into a Reveal.js thing. I'll actually just show that really quick, because I wanted to show the code fragment thing, which I thought was awesome. So, oh yeah, that's the other thing I'm going to do is I made it so that the slides are off to the right, so that I have a section where I can stand and I don't get in the way of the slides. But this is the part I wanted to show you. So this is like a to-do component, and then I can highlight specific sections. So new to-do form function. This sets some state and sets up an event. This is the form submitted function. This is the JSX we are returning from our render function, and we are exporting the new to-do form. So it's super cool that you can navigate between sections like that. And then the code to do it is super straightforward. Right here. So you just triple tick it, like because it's a code block, and then you just put the line number ranges that you want to animate between. It's literally all you have to do, and then now it animates as a fragment. Yeah. So that was cool. I've been using RevealMD RevealJS for a long time, and I didn't know they could do that. I remember a while back there was a React tool that was released for creating slide decks and like navigating code or presenting code. And it was a big deal that it could do this, so I was pretty surprised that Reveal could do that. The other thing I learned about Reveal is they have this rFit text class. I didn't even know this existed, but it makes it so that the text fills up the entire line. So, I mean, this is weird because my slide doesn't take up the whole page, but rFit text, whatever text you put in there, really long, wow, automatically fits to the entire row, which is sweet. So yeah, okay. So specifically the error is string too long, and I think my coworker said it's related to reading the buffer from the file. Yeah, I would have to look at the stack trace. If you look at the stack trace, you can see where that error is being thrown, and if it's from like an internal library, if it's from your code. But I think you need to narrow down which piece of code is throwing that error, and then if it's a library, there's very likely some documentation that says there's a maximum length that you can pass into it or something like that. Oh, this this is the drop game. That wasn't part of it. Yeah. But it is possible that the Lambda itself like can't accept a certain amount of or a string of a certain length, but yeah. I like to see the person that's teaching me. Yeah, I thought that was another interesting thing because most like Udemy courses, the person talking doesn't show their face. Which, I mean, I get from a production perspective because you don't have to like look good for the camera. You can just record the videos. But I want to keep that personal touch. And then eventually, I want to create an artificial intelligence CJ that can just sit inside of your VS Code, and you can ask it questions, and it'll speak back to you. And it'll be like, did you mean to put an H2 on that line? So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely think through ways of promoting the course, but it'll be things like that. What, Mark? You don't want me inside of your editor? you don't want me telling you how to code? Yeah, Copilot CJ mode, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Reveal.js is great, and like I'm pretty sure like this feature is new, so it's staying updated and everything. I guess that's the other thing. Like if you use or you know people that use slides.com, this is actually powered by Reveal.js. So like they built a what you see is what you get editor, but at the end of the day, it is just a Reveal.js slide deck. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, CJ Copilot, exactly. Well, that's what I was kind of making a joke of, like, it's similar to Clippy. Yeah. Okay, let's write some code. We're here. Loco was mentioning slide dev. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the other thing is, like, if I just used Google Slides or if I used PowerPoint, I could animate all of this stuff. The one thing that is missing is the animation between sections of the diagram, which is what I want and which you can't really do in like PowerPoint. So, yeah. All right, let's write some code. Sorry for taking so long, everyone. For now, I'm going to install OneTab so I don't forget all these tabs. So if you've never heard of one tab, it's pretty slick. You just click it, and then all of the tabs that you had open get put onto a page, so you can come back to them later. And the ones that I care about are those, and I don't care about that one. Cool. And thank you for the focus mode, the She-Boss. Let's do it. So we're gonna start with the 7Q. I'll just pick one. I'll just pick a 7Q. But we'll let's focus for at least 15 minutes. For at least 20 minutes. Okay. So I did mention I'm gonna start with an 8Q. And oh, I forgot, Alka. Here, I'll use your buttons. Oh, I mean, I can use your buttons to use. So focus end, nice. Focus start, go. 30 minutes is fine. Okay, so if you're new to the Code Wars website, I'll show you a nice way to find problems to solve. So all of the problems on Code Wars are user submitted, meaning some other coder in the world has come up with that problem and has submitted here for people to solve, which means some of the problems don't have very good descriptions or aren't very clear, or they don't have good tests. So what you typically want to do is sort by problems that have positive feedback or ones that are most completed, because if people are completing them, then that probably follows that they have good descriptions and good tests. So sort them like that. Choose your language. I'm going to use JavaScript. And then go for approved, because anything in beta it's possible that they don't have good tests or they have bad descriptions. So make sure you do approved. I'm going to choose KATAS I have not trained on, meaning these are problems I've never seen before. And we're going to go with 8Q. 8Q. Okay, here we go. Let's look at what this one is. And if you are a complete coding beginner, can you just smile in chat? Let's see what our audience is. Because if you're a complete coding beginner, this one is for you. And don't be shy. We welcome beginners around here. You don't have to be afraid of outing yourself. Cool. Welcome. Welcome, Yaps. And Finder. Oh wait, so are you frowning because you're not a beginner? Yeah, so 8Q is the easiest. Okay. It's fine. Some beginner will watch this afterwards. So this problem says, given a string, you have to return a string in which each character, case sensitive, is repeated once. All right, so this will be fun. This wants me to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to take a 5-minute break when I'm done solving this problem. So here we go. So what I like to do is I like to bring these down locally. They have an editor where you can write your code, but I like to bring it down locally. And I like to name my file the name of the kata. In this case, double char. So create a file, call it double char. .js. We will copy the function. And then we'll copy the tests. Okay, so essentially we have a function, it takes in a string, and then we need to output that same string, but every character is repeated twice. So if the input is ABCD, then the output is AABBCCDD. And thank you, it's lovely Lexa for that prime, much appreciated. Oh yeah, and I'll link the kata. If you all want to try to solve this while I solve it, What's up, Murdoch? Welcome in. If you want to try to solve it, you can click that link and solve it as well. Okay. I'm just going to start with some pseudocode, which is not real code. It just describes how I'm going to solve the problem. So for this problem, we are going to need a place to store the doubled string. So we get this as input, but we need to return this as output, meaning we need some place to store that as we build up the output. We then need to iterate over each character in the string. So we're going to look at each character, and then with each character, we will append the current character twice to the output string. So we're going to look at it one at a time. We'll look at A. We'll say, all right, let's append 2 A's to the output string. We'll look at B. We'll say, let's append 2 B's there. C, append 2 C's. D, append 2 D's. And then once we're done with that, should be it. And we'll say, return the double string. Cool. Let's turn this into actual code. So a place to store the doubled string, we'll just say doubled string. And it starts off as an empty string, meaning there's nothing inside of it. We then need to iterate over each character in the string. So I'm going to use a for loop for that. We'll start at index 0 because we're going to look at the 0th character in the string, and then the first, the second, the third, so we'll start at 0. We're going to loop while I is less than the string length. And on each iteration, we'll increase I by 1. So we'll look at 0, then we'll look at 1, then 2, then 3, until we've reached the end. All right. Append the current character twice to the output string. So I'm actually just going to create a variable called current character and set that equal to string at that given index. So let's say the input string is ABCD. String bracket 0 would give us A. String bracket 1 would give us B. So that's the current character. And then I need to append that twice to the doubled string. So I can say a doubled string plus equals current character. And then I could do it again. So I could do it twice, or I could just do it like that. Let's do it like that. So take 2 of the current character and put it onto the end of the doubled string. And then at the end of this all of this, we return the doubled string. Cool. I'm going to start up Quokka. Quokka.js is a nice little tool that runs my code inside of the editor and shows the output. So check that out here if that's interesting to you. Well, let's see. So we can see the output of my function is AABBCCDD, and the expected output is AABBCCDD. So we've done it. We solved it. Now let's solve it a few more ways and kind of like talk through this. For one thing, you may not have realized that you can use bracket notation on a string. So a lot of newer JavaScript developers will do like a string.split to turn it into an array, but you don't have to do that because bracket notation works on a string. You still can use string.split, and especially if you want to use higher order methods like map or for each, because those only exist on arrays. But let's show it and explain how Dudater is doing it. So instead of a for loop, if we wanted to use a for each loop, we could turn the string into an array. And the way to do that is to do string.split. I believe we also could do array.from. Yeah, array.from will do it as well. Where basically we pass it an iterable, and a string is an iterable, and it turns it into an array. I'll do it like this instead of splitting. So turn this string into an array, and then for each character in that array, so each character in that string, we do this. So now we can get rid of the for loop. And then this is just character. So we can see the output here is the same. So this solves it in a similar way, but instead of using a for loop, we're using a for each method, which is built into arrays. We could go even further, and instead of a for each, we could actually do a reduce, because we're basically taking an array of characters and reducing it to an array of doubled characters. So if we turn this into a reduce, we would have our accumulator, which is the doubled string. And then in this case, we just want to return doubled string plus 2 of the characters. And at that point, we could return this whole thing. So if we do it like this, we turn that string into an array and then reduce it into a doubled string. You can see that it works here, but one thing you typically do is pass in a starting value for the accumulator. Everyone in chat is saying, I solved it. Can we do? Oh yeah. I'll show other ways of turning a string into an array. That's the next thing that I'll show. But so your reduce has an accumulator starting value. Like in this case, I'm saying it starts off as the empty string. But because the thing I'm accumulating is an array of strings, it'll start off with that, which means it still works. Oh no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work without that starting value. You can actually see that if I leave off that starting value, the first letter in all of these didn't get repeated. So I absolutely need that starting value. Okay, so that's great. Let's show some other ways to turn a string into an array. I showed array.from. You could also do a string.split. So if you say string.split and you pass in the empty string, let me show you what this gives. This will basically give you an array that has all of the characters inside of it. So string.split is one way to do it, and then the rest of the code is the same because we've turned it into an array. And then what someone asked in chat is known as the spread operator. So we can say, let's start off with an empty array, and then I want to spread each character from this string into that array. So this spread operator says take this iterable on the right-hand side and spread its values into this array. If we log it out, we'll see the same thing, where essentially the string has been turned into an array where each of the characters is a value in the array. Can we think of another way to turn a string into an array? Yep. Yeah, so the thing that's showing this output here is Quaka. Quaka, that's the one. So that's mainly it. Let's... I'm going to choose the for each one, and then we'll iterate on this one. So you can use a reduce, and we've talked about this in the past. Like, reduce isn't super clear. For a lot of developers, even developers that have been coding for a long time, when they look at a reduce, it takes them a second to understand what the code is actually doing. Whereas if you compare it to something like a for each, this is a bit easier to understand what the code is doing. So I'm gonna work with this for each here. One thing you could do, instead of appending the character twice, so basically this line of code right here is actually saying this. It's saying set doubled string equal to doubled string plus character plus character. So these two lines of code are exactly the same. But there are some other ways to write it as well. Like instead of saying character plus character, we could actually use the built-in repeat function and say repeat it twice. So repeat is a function built into strings that will repeat that character. It returns a new string that repeats that character that number of times. Now, in this scenario, I think it's more clear to just do character plus character. But repeat is really useful if you need to repeat it like more than twice, like 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So you can just pass in a value here, and it will repeat it that many times. So, but we only need it repeated twice. So template strings is another way to do it. Let's show it like that. So I basically can take this, and instead of doing concatenation, I can put backticks, remove the plus signs. Now at this point, I'm literally just creating a string with the words doubled string character character. But if I want to reference the variables, wrap them in curly braces and use a $sign. And so now I can reference these variables directly like this. Like that. Though there doesn't need to be spaces. So you can see right now my output has spaces in it. I actually need to remove the spaces. Yeah. So if I were writing this for my job, if it was my job to write this code and I was getting paid for it, I kind of think I would just do it like this first one. This one seems the most clear to me. And like using template literals for very simple concatenation, I think sometimes is overkill, though I have worked in code bases where they have a linter rule that says you must use template literals. Basically, do not use string concatenation anywhere. You must use template literals like this. Yeah, and actually another way that you could write this would be doubled string plus equal, and then don't include doubled string in the output there. Yeah, and that's a good point, Voracious Dev. So template strings are useful when it's more than just variables, right? If you have like other text, like if I had spaces and dashes and like hello, wow, if I had stuff like that, this is much nicer to write than if you're writing a bunch of plus signs with a bunch of strings. Yeah. So all five of these lines, all of these are doing exactly the same thing. It's just different ways to write them. But like I said, if I was getting paid to write this code, I would probably do it this way. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's a good point, Loco. And like this comes down to like business requirements and changing code. So let's say the business asked us to write this code. We wrote it this way. And then they come along and they say, oh, well, actually, we want you to repeat the character 3 times. You're like, all right, I'll just add it there. Okay, easy enough. And then they come back and like, all right, we actually want you to repeat it 6 times. You're like, oh, that's fine. I can do that. And so you do that. But at this point, the code, it's like, it's much harder to, at a glance, see that character is being repeated 6 times. So if you got those requirements, eventually you might actually refactor this thing to say, oh, let's do a repeat with 6, because now it's really clear what the code is actually doing. Let's take a quick stretch. And I think what Loco is mentioning is if you're really thinking about the future when you're writing the code the first time, you might have just written it with repeat the first time, because you're like, I'll use repeat because I know those tricky product managers, they're going to ask me to repeat this more than twice. So I'm gonna use the repeat function. So I actually agree with that. Let's use the repeat function. The other thing I like about it is that it reads like plain English. Like this literally says repeat character twice. Whereas if I have a bunch of concatenation, it's not immediately clear what it does. Obviously, I'm a programmer. I could stare at this for a few seconds and then figure out, oh yeah, that's repeating the character twice. But at first glance, this is way easier to see that it's repeating it twice. Okay. I'm going to go out of focus mode, and then anyone in chat, let me know, are there other ways that I could go about solving this? So basically the ways we showed were using a for loop, using a for each, using a reduce, and then there are various ways of turning a string into an array. For of instead of for loop. I'll show that. Slam the repeat count into a CMS, yeah. Yeah, and that's the other interesting thing is, so now you could have like repeat count, which has a default value of 2, and then you pass in the repeat count. And that's fine. But now I could do something like this. I could call it and say repeat count of 6, and then it's now parameterized. So if I was writing really well maintainable code, I probably would write something like that. But I'm not. There's a regular expression. Oh! Let's do it with a regular expression. Definitely. And no one tell me the regex. I'll figure it out. But I am going to take this, and first, before we do regular expression, I'm afraid to scroll chat because I think someone's going to show me the regular expression solution. But I want to turn this into a for of. There we go. So for of is really nice because basically instead of having to write all of the extra stuff for like a for loop with your iterator and your condition and your increment, you literally just say, okay, that thing on the right is an iterable, and I want a variable for each value inside of it, and then I can do something with it. So for of is really nice. Yeah. Oh, we did classic for loop. That was just the first thing we did. Yeah. All right. So nobody spoil the regular expression. I'm gonna try to figure it out. So, we'll have our function that takes in a string, and then I believe, Curious Monkey, you've been following Coding Garden for 2 years. That's a long time. Okay, if we do a replace with a regular expression that says replace anything with and do it globally for every occurrence. Okay, so at a high level, this is kind of working. We're basically taking every character and replacing it with 2 A's. But I don't want to do that. I want to match that, and then I can get a callback function that I believe gets the character, and then we can repeat it twice. Yeah, there we go. That's the regular expression solution. So we pass in a regular expression. This regular expression says match anything as a group. So each character gets matched, and then I say do it globally, so match every character in the string. And then in JavaScript, you can pass a replacer function. I'll see if I can simplify it. But in JavaScript, you can pass a replacer function that will get called for every matching group. So this is basically getting called with every character, and then I'm repeating it twice. Oh, I know how to make it simpler. I know, watch me. You can actually pass like this. $1, $1. Which matches the group. Yeah, that's the one. Voracious Dev has it. So this basically says $1 is the first matching group from the regular expression. And then I'm saying repeat that matching group twice. Though it doesn't seem to work with a %sign. No group needed. Use okay, let's try that. But why why doesn't it work with the %sign? So is a %sign not matched against a period? I'm speechless because I'm trying to figure out what's happening here. Because it's not the regular expression that broke it. Even my simple for each here has actually it's not working when there's a percent sign. Let me make sure that's not a classic. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. The logging of the content is the Quokka extension. Look at this. Why wouldn't it repeat a percent sign? Yeah, so we've determined it's not Quokka. Is it repeat? Like, what if we just do basic concatenation like this? File is saved. We are only getting 1% sign. Oh, well, I'm not even using a regular expression in it. So it's double logged because it logs the output of the function and then the expected output. So right-hand side is expected output. Left-hand side is the output of the function. I'm going to go all the way back to just my plain old for loop. Seems like a string can't start with a double, like, I want to log the doubled string on every iteration. Look at that. So it goes double, 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 double. And then when we return it, it only has one. Okay, console log is doing formatting. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with our code. Console log accepts. Let's actually look up the actual reason because this is super interesting. I don't think it's template literals. I think it's console log specifically allows formatting. Where would I be able to look that up? Right here. When passing a string to one of console object's methods that accepts a string, such as log, you may use substitution strings. So %o or %0 outputs a JavaScript object, %d, %f. In our case, we're just doing but what is it interpreted as? Just like percent nothing? But basically that's what's happening. My function is not broken. My regular expression is not broken. Console log just does weird stuff with percents. Yeah. Console log. I don't know if that would work, because I mean, even if I put this into a variable and then logged the variable, technically that's still a string that has percent signs inside of it. Okay, so Uh, let's ignore that one, and make an even better regular expression. So, what Alka was mentioning is we don't need the matching groups. We can just do this, and then present ampersand. Gotta go back in time. $ ampersand. Oh, you still have to do it twice? Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So, Stashley says, I learned something new. Yeah. So, yeah, and some people were mentioning it. So if you're familiar with, like, printf from C, and I think even, like, a lot of languages have a similar printf style, you can use the percent signs to reference certain types of things and do, like, formatting, which we weren't trying to do, which really confused us with this. That's why we were seeing that. Yeah. Loco says, so it basically tries to substitute with the second argument, but replaces it with nothing because it's another percent. Yeah, I think what certain people were mentioning is just that typically, if you want to put a percent sign in your output string with printf or with a formatted string, you just do a double percent sign. So, yeah. And what's up, Funny Boy, who's saying percent is like slash in a string, so it's escaping the percent sign. Yeah. Oh, so if we do dir, let's see. Nice. But apparently Quokka doesn't support dir. Okay, I'm done with this problem. We solved it a bunch of ways. If I were to do this in the real world, I think I would go with this one. This is my solution. Let's submit it and then move on. Yeah, and I think the issue is because whatever the resulting string is being passed into console.log. And so if that has percent signs on it, then it's going to be treated as a format string, regardless of if that was like a concatenated or generated string. All right. There's my code. Let's test it. Submit it. Good to go. We can take a look at how other people solve this one as well. So split it, map it, join it. Let's talk about complexity in runtime. So this does one iteration to turn the string into an array. This does another iteration to turn that into a new array of doubled characters. And then this does another iteration to take that array of doubled characters and turn it back into a string. So while this is a very little amount of code, it's basically this is basically like 3 for loops. Whereas if you look at this solution, it's a single for loop, and it does it all in one go. It's funny, Alka. So split it, map it, join it, technologic. JavaScript developers love split map join. They do this all the time, but it is a lot more iteration. So yeah. See you later, Andy. Thanks for hanging out. Let's see. They solved it very similar to how we solved our first go around. Just regular plain old for loop and then concatenated on there. Same regular expression solution we found. Yeah, I guess did we show a map and a join? I guess I didn't show the map in the join, but that is another way to do it. So map creates a new array, the same size as the input array. So you get a new array, that array has doubled characters in it, and then you join it all back together. It's a good point, the She-Boss. A common beginner mistake is thinking less text means better code. That's not the case. the important thing to note is that these are function calls, meaning something has to be happening, and behind the scenes, things are happening. You just didn't write that code. That code is just behind the scenes. So whenever you see some sort of function call, something has to be happening. It's not free. You don't get it for free. Question: how much does it actually matter in the real world? Serious question. I would say, let's say you're building a React app, and let's say in your UI, you're doing something like this to transform the way the text is displayed on a list of repeated cards. This is going to affect your render time, right? Because for every single element that's displayed, this little bit of code has to run, which means it's 3 iterations, which means if you had a list of 10,000 items, if you were to refactor this code to be a single iteration, that's, well, I guess 2 times, it's 20,000 less iterations that need to happen for the render. So that, at the end of the day, that might result in like 100 milliseconds added to the render time, which users might not notice, but things like this add up. So if you're doing this all over your app, your renders will get slow, that kind of thing. So yeah. Do the trained expressions not run sequentially? Oh, they do. Yeah. So this runs first, returns a value. That value is then used to run this. That returns a value, and then that value is used to run this. So they do run in order. Yeah. What if it's somewhere in backend code? Yeah, I mean, this could really slow down, like, let's say you get some data back from a database query, and then you need to massage the data before you return it to the front end. You need to move some things around or, like, combine or concatenate some things, and you're doing that in application code. You're not doing that, like, in SQL or in a Mongo query. That will slow down your response because the code running in the response handler needs to do all of those reformatting's on the data that you got back from the database. So that could have an effect as well. Yeah, it's true. So Josh Washi is mentioning modern compilers are pretty good, meaning like if you write unperform or not very performant code, compilers are smart enough to turn that into more performant code. I don't know how the JavaScript engine would handle this. If it actually would see that, oh, we're doing multiple things on the same array, so can we just combine that into a single array operation? I don't know. I don't know if JavaScript would do that. Yeah. And yaps, thank you for the hydrate. I actually don't have a beverage. I need to go. I'll go grab one because I'm going to take a quick break. So it isn't nested, right? So the time complexity would still... Yeah, so technically... time complexity is the same because it's not a loop inside of a loop. However, it is still more computation. Like there's still more what's the word? I guess expressions that need to be evaluated. There's still more code that needs to be run. Like this is more CPU time versus just a single iteration. Yeah. And Voracious Dev is saying, in my experience, readability is often more important than performance. Servers are cheap, devs are expensive. Yeah, it really depends. So yeah. More cycles. Cycles is the word I was looking for. All right, I'll be back in like 2 minutes. I'm going to go grab a drink, and then we're going to do a 7Q. Operations. I think that's more even closer to the word that I was thinking of. Thank you, honey. Operations. Let's look at this breaking chocolate problem. Split a chocolate bar of a given dimension into small squares. Sounds hard. We'll take a look when I get back. I will be back in literally 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. I mean, you can go somewhere. I don't know. I'll be back. Hello. I'm back. It was faster than 2 minutes. There was surprisingly water nearby. So, all right, let's pick a 7Q to do. And if you're just joining us, this is the Coding Garden. We write code, and we are solving some Code Wars code katas. You can check out codewars.com. That's where all these katas are. And we're going to do a 7Q, which is going to be slightly harder than an 8Q. So, let's look at this one. You will be given an array and the limit value. You must check that all values in the array are below or equal to the limit value. If they are, return true, else return false. You can assume all the values in the array are numbers. All right. I can do this. I have the technology to do this. And Greg, thank you for the tier 1. 27 months. Wow. Okay. So I like this one because it's a good use case for the every method, which exists on arrays. So I get to talk about that. But we'll do it without that first. That's it. Mark has it. It's a really simple solution if you use the every function. But we'll do it without that first. Okay, so the purpose of this function is given an array and a limit, return true if every value in that array is less than the limit. Is it less than or equal to, or just less than? Below or equal to, so less than or equal to the limit. So if every value in the array is less than or equal to this, return true. If every value in this array is less than or equal to 100, which it's not, return false, etc. All right, we can do it. So we need to iterate over the array. If the current value is greater than the limit, return false. If we made it through the entire array, then we just return true, because that means they're all less than the limit. This is super easy. This is actually extremely easy. Well, that's fine. This is even easier than the last one, isn't it? Oh, well. Let's iterate over the array. We'll just use a for loop. Actually, this is good because we can talk about why using a for each here is actually not good, and why using a reduce is not good. We'll talk about that. So we'll do it with the for loop first. But using every is good. So yeah, there's content here. There's things to be learned. All right, so we're going to iterate I equals 0 while I is less than the length of the array. Increment I on each iteration. And then we do our check. So if the current value, which is going to be A at index I, is greater than the limit, we then return false because we found a value greater than the limit. And then after iterating through the whole for loop, we return true. So let's start up Quokka. So true, great, false, true. All right, so we've done it. Let's talk about implications
Coding cheer
of
100,
using a for
coding
each
cheer
or using a
100,
reduce.
coding cheer 100, coding cheer 100, coding cheer 100.
Thank you, Murdoch. I appreciate that. Did you know it was gonna speak it out loud? Because that's funny. Okay, and Martin is mentioning you can do every or sort them and then get most left or right. Yes. Well, I don't know if sorting would help. So, because if we sorted them, we'd have probably too much iteration just to sort them. And then I guess we would have to find where in the sorted array is greater than the limit. But let's show this first with like a for each. So yeah, I guess a filter would work as well. Let's show it with the for each. And then I'll talk about why that's a worse solution. Also why filter isn't a very good solution. They work, but they're more than one. They're not short-circuited, which is what I'm going to talk about. So when you see a return statement inside of a for loop, one way to talk about this is as a short circuit, meaning the moment we find a value that's greater than the limit, like even if it's the first value in the array, we are instantly done. We are not going to look at any other value in the array. This function is done. So we've essentially short-circuited it, and we've stopped. We don't have to look at the rest of them because we know we are done. If we use something like a filter or a for each or reduce, all three of those methods always look at every single value in the array. So there's no way to short-circuit them, which is why we would need something like every or sum, because those allow us to short circuit. Yeah, okay, so let's turn this into a for each, which should be pretty simple. We'll just say a.for each number. And then instead of a bracket I, we can just say number. But now we cannot, I'll say we can return inside of this for each, but that does nothing. We can't use the return value of the for each. And you'll see, actually, can anyone predict what will happen for these cases where it should return false? What are we going to get back? Now do it with a regular expression. And let's take a quick stretch. Yeah, it's true always. Yeah. Always true. So, and that's because, even so, if we put a return statement here, we just get undefined because for each does not return anything back. So, if we look at it like this, we just get undefined for everything. And then if there's no return statement there, then that means it always returns true, right? So, yeah, there's no way to get a value out of this for each, which means we need to update our logic here. So let's say, we need a variable called passes test. Say all under limit, and we'll start that off with true. So we'll basically, before we even look at the array, we're going to assume that they are all under the limit. And then the moment we find a number that is above the limit, we're going to set that to false. And then at the end, we return that value. So it starts off as true. If every single number was under the limit, we never set it to false, which means we return it as true. So that's how we would solve it here with the for each. And then we would do a similar thing if we were doing this with a reduce. So a quick tip on turning something like a for each into a reduce is we can basically we take this value. Actually, let me start over. So let's say you solved something with the for each, and you created a variable before that for each. You modified that variable inside the for each, and then are using the value after. This is a perfect use case for turning it into a reduce. You can take this variable that you were modifying, turn that into the accumulator, turn this into a reduce, take this initial value and put it here, return the whole thing, and then don't forget to always return all under limit. And so we've now just turned that for each into a reduce. And that works the same way. Like, technically, we could do this. But regardless. But this has the issue that we were talking about earlier. So if you look at the for loop and implementation, it can short circuit. It can basically break out the moment we find one that is above the limit. A for each cannot. It has to iterate the whole way. A reduce has to iterate the whole way. Let's solve it with a filter like we saw someone show in chat. So if we do this. So we're going to filter to create an array that has any number greater than the limit. And if the length of that array is greater than 0, then we know that there is at least one number that is... we would need to do less than 0. So we want to make sure there is no number greater than the limit. Oh, did I do it backwards? Why is this false? Is equal to 0. That's what we want. You got it, Brooklyn Def. Thank you. So we want to make sure that there are no numbers that are greater than the limit. So there are 0 of them. So this is another way to do it. Yeah, so that solves it. But again, this has the same issue as filter, reduce, and for each. And I think someone asked about for. So this is the for each solution. Basically, you say for each on the array, but for each cannot return. So you have to iterate over the whole array. Is there a good reason why for each doesn't have a break function? I don't know if there's a good reason, but it would be interesting. I mean, we could write our own version of for each that has an early return or an early break. I feel like it's possible. We have the technology. But a delicious dumpling. Thank you very much for that Prime sub. Yeah. No worries, Murdoch. I appreciate the bits. Yeah, and so that's why you can't do like asynchronous things in a for each. Like this doesn't return anything. It just runs once and doesn't return anything. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's poor design. I think it's just how it behaves. I'm trying to think through like if this did return a value, then it's more like a map. Because you're getting back multiple values because that function is run for every single value in the array. So yeah. Yeah, and you I mean, you could put a break statement anywhere, I'm pretty sure. Or not. Maybe that is a syntax error. But you could put it like I showed, you could put a return in there, but it doesn't actually do anything. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the same in Java. I think it is though. Like the way for each or I think it's called for each in C# works is that way. Like it doesn't return anything and you can't return early. Yeah, let's show it with a while loop. Because that will work in the same way as a for loop in that we can return early. But our while statement is essentially just this if statement. So I'll say while a, and then I need like an iterator. I'm gonna have to change this though. I got it. So here's the while loop solution. You have an iterator that starts at 0, and then for every element that is greater than the limit, increase I. Well, actually, less than or equal to the limit. So we're going to make sure every value is less than or equal to the limit. And if the current one is less than or equal to the limit, increment I. Increment I, increment I. And then when the while loop is done, we can say if I is equal to the length of the array, I plus 1 is equal to the length of the array. That means we made it through the whole array and none of them are greater than the limit, so we return true. Otherwise, we return false. Or is it just I? It's just I. Yeah, I++ would work too. Like that. But what's interesting about this solution is that the while loop will stop the moment this comparison is false. And so when that comparison is false, we just stop iterating, and then we can return our value. Yeah, I feel like we could do a recursive solution, but we would have to like recursively call it with an array that has one less value in it or something like that. Yeah. Cool. All right, I said we were going to do it. Now let's use the every and the sum function. And those are array methods that will return early, or like that will quit early. We'll just start with a blank function. And what I want is I want to say array.every. So every takes in a function, just like for each filter, reduce, map. It takes in a function that's going to get called on every element. And I want to know if every number is less than or equal to limit. And I just return that. And that's our solution. But what's nice about this is the under the hood implementation returns early. So the moment it comes across a value that doesn't satisfy this condition, it will immediately return. So this is kind of like the compromise of for each not being able to return early. You can use a function like this, which means we could write a for each that allows you to return early. But yeah, so every returns true if every element in the array satisfies this this condition. The other one is sum, and we would just do the reverse. So if I'll do sum, and if some of the numbers are greater than the limit, then we invert it and return the opposite of that. So if some of the numbers are greater than the limit, we have failed, so return the opposite of that. So I just put a not in front of it. And that seems to work as well. Yeah. I just learned of the until loop in Bash. Seems useless. I've never heard of an until loop. No, I don't know about that. Yeah. And it's technically one character shorter. You're right, Mark. I think it's one character shorter. So these methods are pretty useful, and they, if you read about them, they do return early. So the moment this is satisfied, it just stops running. Yeah. I'll submit this one. Yeah, I agree with that, Brooklyn Dev, because I think this could be confusing for like for people where English isn't their first language as well. Like some might get confused with sum, some, and Yeah, I agree with that. This is weird naming. Any, I think I like better. And I also like any better because when I hear it, implies like the first occurrence, like the first one you see, any of them return true. Whereas some of them doesn't sound as accurate or as like, like some of them is like, if some of them match this. No, I mean, really any of them. If the first one that matches. So yeah, I agree with that. Any is a better term than some. Okay, let's submit this. Intuitive. It's more intuitive, yeah. So this is a way I didn't solve it, but it is one way to do it. Take the maximum value of every value in the array and see if that is lower, or see if that is greater than the limit. And if it's greater than the limit, then return false. This has the same issue as all of the other ones. Filter, reduce, for each. It needs to look at every single value instead of just returning early. Oh, any is reserved in JavaScript? Well, a function on an object can be a reserved word, I believe. That's possible. We can say like array.prototype.any equals array.prototype.sum. We can do that. And then we can say any. And it works. Though you really shouldn't modify the prototype. But that looks nicer, doesn't it? Okay. So they did math.max. Great. They used every, like we did. Every. They did a for loop with an early return. Oh, I was about to say, like, what is this dollar sign business? They used, it's just the array value, and they used every. This conversation reminds me of for all or there exist quantifiers in math. Yeah. There exists a value in which, for all values which, I don't know which one is which. I don't know. Yeah, any is only reserved when it's used as like even like a variable name. So like const any, I think would give us a syntax error. Or would it? Oh no, that doesn't. That seems to work. I'm curious if anyone else did the while loop solution. To me, the while loop solution is really interesting because it's so different from the for loop solution. It's like keep iterating until you find the value and then based on that return. I like it. Cool. All right. I did say I was going to do 3 katas today. But I'm tired. So I think I'm going to go. We talked a lot today before we started writing code, but I think the new CJ knows when to quit so that I don't get exhausted and so that I can keep streaming throughout the week. So I'm going to call it here. We only did 2, but it was still pretty fun. I think we learned quite a bit. Thank you, the She-Boss. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I feel like some of you learned about every and some, which are array methods. What did we learn in the other one? Oh yeah, some of you learned about regular expressions. Some of you learned about the repeat method. Some of you learned about string concatenation.
Cheer 1000, cheer 1000.
Thank you, Murdoch. Thanks for the bits. And you're welcome, Delicious Dumpling. Thanks for tuning in. Mark Boot says, 5 a.m., I'm tired too. Not going to do this every week. Get it? They referenced every. Cool. And Sheba says, thanks for the awesome stream. You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for the that's 2,000 bits. Thank you, Murdoch. That's a lot of money. I appreciate you. Thanks for the support. All right, we're gonna go on a raid. I don't know who's streaming this late on a Wednesday, but We'll find them. If you're a sub, you can use this raid message. And thank you, Stasley. And sorry for keeping you up so late, so early. Hopefully you have a good day. If he's streaming, I might raid Sushi Dragon for sure. But yeah, check out the schedule. Next stream is planned for Friday. Friday at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So you can use that to convert to your time zone. Or if you go to this link, 80% of the time it'll show it to you in your time zone. And pretty soon I'll build my own website that'll show it to you in your time zone. Because apparently this doesn't for everyone. But regardless, stay awesome. I'll see you soon. Join my email list. It really helps me. This is the best way you can support me is by joining the email list. I'll use it to let you know about new stuff, and then I'll use it to let you know when I release courses and stuff like that. And it lets me keep in touch with you even if Twitch or YouTube or Discord goes away. So please join the mailing list. All right, that's it. That's all. You all are great. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate everyone hanging out this late on a Wednesday because usually there's less people, there's less conversation, but I had a good time tonight. Lots of good combos. Thanks, Murdoch. Thanks for all the bits. Awesome. All right, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.